Alfred's new secretary is very competent. She even takes pictures and reports it when she falls down while taking a shower. At first, he was impatient, but later he doted on me and shared it with me. The college graduate is really troublesome. She can even hurt herself while taking a shower. You know what? She's kind of cute. Well, she is quite cute. So cute that Mr. Alfred, who has strong needs, immediately left from the tenderness and went to the hospital to take care of her. That night, I packed my luggage, took off my engagement ring, and left the bridal chamber in one smooth motion. A month later, Alfred finally remembered that he still had a fiancée waiting for him at home. When he returned to the villa, the house was empty. Even the dog had been taken away. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When I was deeply engrossed in Alfred's kiss, pinned down on the bed by him, his phone suddenly lit up. The clear message notification sound pulled me out of my state of being lost in passion. I pushed Alfred, who was preparing for the next move. There's a message. Alfred didn't look at the message and directly pressed the screen to turn it off. He kissed me again. He chuckled in a low voice next to my ear. No message is more important than my wife. The warm breath next to my ear made my face turn red. Just as I was about to reach out and put my arms around Alfred's neck to respond, the phone on the bedside table rang again. This time, it was a series of notification sounds, anxious and urgent, worried that it might be something related to work. I quickly pushed Alfred away. Take a look. What if it's something urgent? Alfred, whose mood had been spoiled, showed a flash of displeasure between his eyebrows and eyes. He got up from me. He grabbed the phone on the bedside table. Just one glance was enough for Alfred to visibly tense up. His slender fingers typed rapidly on the screen. As he typed, he walked over to the wardrobe and started putting on his clothes. It seemed to be something very urgent. I asked with concern, "What's wrong? Do you still have to go out so late? Is there something wrong at the company?" Alfred didn't look at me or answer. He just stared at the screen with a tense expression. I couldn't help but lean over and take a look. In an instant, Alfred turned off the screen and quickly stuffed the phone into his coat pocket. When he turned around, the anxiety on his face was replaced by a doting smile. "There's a small problem at the company. It's not a big deal. I'm going to check it out. Wife, don't wait for me. If you're sleepy, go to bed first. It's already so late. Can't whatever it is wait until tomorrow." Before I could finish my sentence, he had already opened the door and gone out. To be honest, I was a little disappointed. Today was the first time this month that Alfred stayed overnight with me at home. The cold wind on the balcony in the depths of winter was biting. I wrapped my coat tighter around me and watched Alfred drive away. I didn't go back to the room until the black Maybach completely disappeared into the night. I was actually a bit sleepy after the earlier intimacy, but after lying down again, I just couldn't fall asleep. It felt like there was something weighing on my heart, making me feel uncomfortable. Alfred has been staying up late recently. This can't go on like this. I picked up the phone on the bedside table and placed an order for several bottles of liver-protecting tablets. I really couldn't fall asleep. I opened a certain social media app again and started choosing the location for taking wedding photos. About an hour later, sleepiness finally came over me. Just as I was about to turn off my phone and go to bed, I accidentally swiped into the local push page. I was attracted by a post at the top. Daily fragments with the cold CEO. The back of the man in the cover photo looked extremely familiar, and the girl in the lace suspender dress, showing only half of her face, was Alfred's new secretary, Jade. I recognized at a glance the pair of gemstone earrings inlaid with emeralds that Jade was wearing. They were the last works of my mother. My mother, who was in the late stage of cancer, was afraid that she wouldn't be able to attend my big event in life. She spent all her remaining time on my engagement gift. She created a pair of unique earrings. Just half a month ago, the emerald on the earring fell off without any warning. Alfred helped me send it for repair. During that time, I asked Alfred, "It's just about inlaying a gemstone. Does it really take so long?" He pulled me into his arms and gently explained, "That's the engagement gift from my mother-in-law. I definitely want to make it look as good as new. I don't want to make my wife sad." I comforted myself. Maybe Jade didn't know the rules and put on the earrings without permission. Before, I often heard Alfred complain to me about how annoying his new secretary was. If it weren't for the fact that she was introduced by my brother, I really would have fired her. I clicked into that post. The words and pictures inside were like a slap in the face. making me feel as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. I accidentally fell down while taking a shower at night. In this strange city where I have no relatives or friends, I didn't know who to turn to for help. So I just sent a message to my boss on the off chance. I didn't expect that the always cold CEO would actually ring my doorbell in the middle of the night and even brought a gift to comfort me. Jade posted a total of 3 pictures. The first one was a photo of the man's back and half of her face. The emerald on her earlobe was very dazzling. The second one was a collage of their chat records. Jade sent a photo of herself in a lace suspender dress, lying on the floor of the bathroom after falling. At first glance, all that could be seen were her snow-white legs, the girl's crying and the man's concern. There was also some hidden ambiguity mixed in. It had already gone beyond the boundaries of a superior and a subordinate. The third one was a photo of the man kneeling on one knee in front of the girl, carefully massaging the girl's swollen ankle. In the live-action picture, I saw the man's eyes, which were anxious and full of distress when he looked up. My heart suddenly stopped, and a feeling of suffocation, like falling into the deep sea, completely enveloped me. The owner of these eyes had been lingering with me in bed just an hour ago. He had promised me eternal love, so this was the urgent matter that he had to attend to. The comments under the post were all about shipping them as a couple. The blogger has made the guy so interested, but she still calls him boss. Give him a proper title already. When she fell down, she cried and took a photo to find her crush. When we fall down, we take a photo and post it on TikTok. That's probably why we can't find a partner. The real-life office romance is so sweet. After looking at the blogger's profile, I'm sure the boss has a crush on the blogger. I, like someone torturing myself, clicked into Jade's profile. From the initial disbelief to the later numbness and despair, her profile recorded all the ambiguous moments between her and Alfred. It was just like a love blogger's posts. On the day they fed each other popcorn in the cinema, I waited for Alfred at the concert hall for 2 hours. On the night he accompanied her to stay up late to do her internship report, I stayed up late at home designing the wedding dress and the suit. Her note for him was, "Boss," followed by a cute little heart emoji. So what was his note for her? Suddenly, I remembered the red mark that looked like a heart emoji that I had seen in a quick glance before. If I weren't Alfred's fiancée, I would also think, like the netizens, that they were a perfect match. The lively and cute secretary, and the abstinent, cold, and wealthy boss. Without the need for excessive words, the chemistry between them was just natural. There was an indescribable pain in my heart, churning and surging up to my throat. My heart ached as if it had been cut. My hand holding the phone suddenly lost its strength, and the phone, bang, hit the floor. A thin crack appeared on the screen. Evan squeezed in through the crack of the door when he heard the sound. He jumped onto the bed and barked at me. I sat on the bed in a trance for a long time. It was only when Evan licked my cheek with his wet tongue that I came back to my senses. Everything was not an illusion. It wasn't a dream I had when I was worried about losing something. It was all real. Before I knew it, my face was covered in tears. Evan sensed my sadness and started rolling around on the bed to amuse me. My phone dinged. It was a message from Alfred. It was a voice message. "Wife, are you asleep? The matter at the company is a bit difficult to deal with. I won't be coming back tonight. Be good. After I finish this busy period, I'll accompany you to Switzerland to see the snow and visit your mother's grave. Then we can also take our wedding photos in the Alps by the way. Wife, you know what? Every time I work overtime, I can't help but fantasize about our married life. These are all my motivation, and I don't even feel tired from working overtime anymore." The voice coming from the receiver was a bit hoarse. At the end of the last voice message, I also heard a girl's delicate gasp. After the call ended, the once tender room was left with only absurdity. That night, I went to the hospital for a checkup overnight. After getting the examination report that showed I was in good health, the stone that had been weighing on my heart finally dropped. When Alfred came back, I had already packed my luggage and was ready to leave. Seeing the suitcase by my side, he was stunned for a moment at first. Then, as if he had thought of something, he suddenly laughed. "Didn't you say we would go to Switzerland after I'm done with my work? Are you really that eager to see the location for taking wedding photos?" As he spoke, he reached out and pulled me into his arms, his voice hoarse. "Christina, are you so eager to marry me?" The clear woody fragrance was mixed with a faint camellia fragrance, but no one in the family uses camellia-scented perfume. Suddenly, I remembered the new post that Jade had updated that morning when I got up. In that picture, Alfred was only wearing a pair of boxer shorts. He hugged Jade, who was almost naked and covered in hickeys. From behind, there was a look of contented infatuation on his face. The caption was, "The boss asked me to change my address for him. Now I call him husband." A wave of nausea welled up in my stomach. I suddenly broke free from Alfred's arms. Perhaps because of a guilty conscience, Alfred was particularly attentive and patient today. When he saw me break free from his arms, he just gave a doting smile. "Wife, what's wrong? Are you unhappy because of what happened last night?" He made a gesture as if he were swearing. The expression on his face was pious, as if he wasn't the one who had strayed. "Come on, don't be angry. I promise I'll accompany you to Switzerland as soon as I'm done." "Okay, you can stay there and play for as long as you want. As long as you're happy. I'll even set the location of the branch office in Switzerland. We'll get married, have a baby, and form a family of 3 there." Alfred's face was full of longing, and the love on his face didn't seem to be fake. I really wanted to slap him and ask him why he betrayed his original vows. But I didn't, because I knew Alfred's methods. If I rashly exposed the truth, I wouldn't be able to leave. I didn't want to stay here anymore. When my mother was on her deathbed, she held my hand and tearfully told me, I must be happy. I used to think that Alfred was my happiness. Now, he had shattered my happiness with his own hands. I wouldn't want something that was broken. I met Alfred's smiling eyes. My eyebrows slightly curved. I was smiling, but there were tears in my eyes. Alfred looked at me with a smile. He probably thought that I was crying tears of happiness. I stayed away from his hand that was going to wipe my tears. Instead, I pulled out a strand of chestnut-colored long hair that was caught in his suit jacket. Alfred stared at the strand of hair in my hand, his expression slightly frozen. There was a flash of panic in his eyes, but after all, he was a person who had been in the business world for a long time. He quickly returned to his normal expression. He hugged me, his face full of ambiguity. "You must have been in such a hurry to take off my coat last night that you accidentally broke off a strand of your hair. You little glutton. You can't do this next time. It's a small thing to break a strand of hair. If you get hurt, I would be heartbroken." The sweet words that used to be as sweet as honey now only made me feel disgusted. He didn't even look at me properly when he was lying. My hair was pure black, not chestnut-colored. I couldn't hold back the churning in my stomach anymore. I pushed him away and turned to rush into the bathroom. I hadn't had breakfast, and my stomach was empty, so I couldn't vomit anything out. Alfred rushed in after me. When he saw me leaning over the toilet, my face pale from retching, he was very worried. He took out his phone and was about to call the ambulance. But I stopped him. I barely forced a smile and explained, "I might have caught a cold last night. It's okay. The photographer sent me a message yesterday, inviting me to go there first for a photo shoot. She said it doesn't have to be the Alps. There are other beautiful scenery in Switzerland. I plan to go and take a look first. But you're not feeling well. You can go for the photo shoot anytime. The wedding is not until next month anyway. There's no need to rush. As far as I'm concerned, your health is the most important thing." Alfred was sincere when he said that, but his sincerity was worthless. I pushed away his hand that was supporting me. "You know, I've been preparing for this wedding for a long time. I want it to be perfect." "Okay then, I'll drive you to the airport." After hesitating for a few seconds, Alfred took the suitcase and held my hand, ready to go out. Although I didn't want to have any physical contact with him anymore, I could only suppress my nausea. I told myself in my heart, just bear with it a little longer. It will be okay when I go abroad. When the car started, Alfred's phone rang again. This time, I saw clearly the note with a small red heart emoji. "Sweet little baby, heart emoji." There was a rare look of panic on Alfred's face. He was at a loss and wanted to turn off the screen, but I still saw it clearly. "Wife, don't misunderstand. You know, the new secretary is just a recent college graduate. She doesn't know any better. She changed this note on my phone herself, saying that young people nowadays do this to get closer to their boss. I didn't want to argue with a kid, so I just let it be. It's just a note. You're not going to be angry with me about this, are you?" I didn't say a word, but Alfred had already made up a lot of lies to explain. But it seemed that he had overlooked one problem. The new secretary knew his phone password, while I, his fiancée, didn't. In fact, I used to know all of Alfred's passwords, but I don't know when he started changing them. It's not really about what his phone password is that I care about. What I care about is that there's a barrier between us, a barrier that he himself built, to guard against me. Looking at his flustered expression, I suddenly laughed. It's okay. It's just a nickname. Alfred's expression froze for a moment. It seemed that my magnanimity wasn't the reaction he wanted. Jade was still calling non-stop on the other end. When Alfred was about to hang up the phone again, I stopped him. Answer it. What if it's something urgent? As soon as the call was connected, I vaguely heard Jade's crying on the other side. Alfred rubbed the center of his eyebrows and got out of the car while covering the phone receiver. When he stood by the roadside to soothe Jade, he looked just like he did when we were madly in love. Alfred and I went to the same university. There was a junior from his department who liked him very much and often invited him to do experiments together. During that time, Alfred almost spent every day in the laboratory with that junior. Once, I went to give him milk tea. I caught the junior feeding Alfred milk tea. Alfred said that his girlfriend would be angry about it. But he didn't refuse. He drank several sips from the junior's hand. When he turned around, his eyes met mine as I stood outside the window. He chased after me and coaxed me for a long time downstairs of the girls' dormitory, just like he was doing now. My eyes suddenly felt a bit hot. I didn't want to watch them flirting with each other. I got out of the car myself, opened the trunk, and dragged my luggage away. Alfred didn't notice any of my actions. He was too focused on soothing Jade. When Alfred called, I was already in the airport hall. You go and deal with the company matters first. All right then. My wife is so understanding. I'll fly over to be with you as soon as I'm done. After the call ended, I looked at the woman standing in front of me. She had long, wavy chestnut hair. The emerald gemstone earrings dangled from her earlobes. Even though it was the cold winter, she deliberately wore a low-cut dress, just to show me the mottled red marks on her chest. You're Alfred's fiancé. You don't seem that special. Just like what Alfred said, an ordinary housewife. You're so boring. No wonder Alfred has fallen for me. Alfred must have been telling you that the company is really busy these days. Right. Actually, he was lying to you. When he said he was busy, he was actually with me. As she spoke, Jade lifted her hair and let it fall over her left chest, revealing a large patch of crisscrossed hickeys on the back of her neck, even more eye-catching than the marks on her chest. She continued to provoke me. He came to me again last night. He said you're so boring. Unlike me, I'm young, pretty, and open-minded. But sometimes I'm also troubled. You know, I actually hope that you could be a bit more open. Oh, right. And these earrings. Before Jade could finish her words, I slapped her hard, interrupting her. She covered her face and let out a scream. Christina, are you crazy? How dare you hit me? Then came another scream, because I forcefully yanked the earrings off her ears. With such great force, Jade's earlobes bled instantly. She covered her ears and was about to pounce on me like a madwoman. However, before she could touch me, she was angrily stopped by the man not far behind her. Alfred rushed into the airport hall, looking tired from his journey. He walked quickly towards me, completely ignoring Jade, who was crying and complaining beside him. Just then, the boarding announcement sounded in the airport hall. Ms. Christina, please proceed to the boarding gate as soon as possible. Your flight is about to close the cabin door. Wife, don't go. Alfred rushed over and grabbed the hand with which I was dragging the suitcase. His eyes were bloodshot. Wife, listen to me. Let me explain. I coldly pulled my hand out of his palm. Your secretary has already explained everything you wanted to say. After saying that, I turned around and left. I didn't want to stay for even a second longer. Alfred rushed over again and grabbed my wrist. What you said about going to Switzerland for a photo shoot was all a lie, wasn't it? You took off your ring, and Evan isn't at home either. Even the manuscript of the wedding dress you designed with your own hands was thrown into the trash. Christina, are you breaking up with me? Alfred's voice was dry, as if I was the one who had done something wrong in this relationship. But his lover was standing right behind him. How could he have the nerve to pose as the victim? Since things had come to this point, I didn't need to hold back anymore. I pretended to be calm and tried my best not to let my voice tremble. Alfred, let's break up. I don't agree. Christina, I was wrong. Come back with me. Okay. I'll call the HR department right now to fire her. I'll hire a new secretary. A male secretary. Is that okay? Alfred's flustered appearance was really ridiculous. The announcement sounded again. I forcefully pried his fingers off my wrist. Alfred held on to me tightly and refused to let go. If I had to compete with an adult man in strength, I would definitely lose. Fortunately, Jade started crying. Jade, covering her still bleeding earlobe, came to pull Alfred. With tears in her eyes, she looked very pitiful, like a frightened little rabbit. Brother Alfred, it hurts so much. Alfred gave Jade a pained look. The grip on my wrist loosened, and I quickly pulled my hand away. I dragged my suitcase and left in a hurry. Behind me were Jade's weak cries and the sound of Alfred calling to book a plane ticket. He shouted at my back, "Christina, wait for me. I'll book the earliest flight." I didn't hear the rest of his words, but it didn't matter anymore. "Alfred, I won't wait for you anymore. This time, I'm going to pursue my own happiness." Outside the airport, a mixed-race man with blonde hair and blue eyes stood straight in front of me. After we picked up Evan together, the man tilted his head and asked me, "Do you want to visit the teacher?" I nodded. The teacher he mentioned was my mother. My mother was a well-known jewelry designer. When she was alive, there were countless designers who wanted to be her apprentice. Only Edison caught her eye. When I was 16, my mother wanted me to come to Switzerland and study jewelry design with Edison. She said I had a great talent for design and hoped that I could carry on her legacy. But I stayed for Alfred at the airport. My mother didn't blame me. Instead, she called me every day on video, allowing me to study with Edison through the screen. Over the years, I've met Edison countless times through the screen. Today was the second time we met outside of the screen. The last time was at my mother's funeral. At that time, Alfred was still by my side. Alfred had always been very hostile towards Edison. He always thought that there was something more than just a normal relationship between me and Edison. I didn't know why he was so overly suspicious before. Now I understand. Because he himself had a relationship that crossed the line with someone else. He thought I might do the same. A person with a dirty heart sees everything as dirty. Perhaps because of the change of environment, the depression in my heart dissipated a lot compared to before. A gentle melody suddenly played in the quiet car. Edison's deep voice sounded beside me. "Are you going back this time?" I looked out the window. Before I knew it, a light drizzle had started to fall. Before I could answer, Edison spoke again. His voice was a bit urgent, as if he was very afraid of getting a negative answer from me. In Chinese terms, Alfred's behavior is a violation of male virtue. Such a man isn't worth keeping. "Christina, you study jewelry design. You should know what a diamond represents. Eternal, loyal, and unique love. His behavior doesn't deserve your forgiveness. You should let go and see other scenery." The teacher's house has been empty for a long time. There are many unfinished design drafts in it. Would you like to finish them with me? I didn't look at the expression on Edison's face. We're all adults. Some things don't need to be said explicitly. We all understand without being told. Back then, my mother wanted me to come to Switzerland because she thought Edison and I were a good match. We could study together and develop our relationship. We would definitely become each other's soulmates in the future. But at that time, I was so in love with Alfred that I couldn't fit anyone else in my heart. I stood in front of my mother's grave, with the man holding an umbrella standing behind me. My mother in the photo was still smiling, bright and warm. Looking at the photo of my mother, I suddenly said, "Take me to see those design drafts." My mother has been dead for a year, but the villa is still clean and tidy. I didn't need to guess to know that Edison must have come to clean it regularly. On the table in the study, there was a stack of manuscripts. Some were finished, and some were half-finished. Edison told me a lot of stories about my mother behind me. He said, "The teacher actually always hoped that you would come to Switzerland to develop your career." By the end, both of our eyes were red. We chatted casually like this until it got dark, and then he gave me the key to the villa and drove away. That night, I devoted myself completely to those manuscripts. Evan was sleeping soundly beside me. Everything was so pleasant that I didn't notice the vibrating phone beside me at all. In the noisy private room of the bar, Alfred slammed his phone onto the tea table with a bang. The noisy private room fell silent instantly. People around Alfred all cast nervous glances at him. "Alfred, is sister-in-law still refusing to answer the phone?" Sister-in-law is really something. These days, which man with a bit of money doesn't have a woman outside? What's more, Alfred is young and promising. It's quite normal to have one or two young and pretty women around, isn't it? Is there a need for her to run away from home like this? I think, Alfred, you should just cancel sister-in-law's bank card directly. Sister-in-law has been staying at home for so many years. Everything she eats and uses is provided by you. If you cancel her card and leave her alone for a few days, after a few days of hardship, she'll definitely come back obediently. Yeah, Sister-in-law loves you so much. She's definitely just throwing a tantrum, hoping that you'll go and coax her. But women can't be spoiled. If she's already acting so recklessly now, what will happen after you get married? Alfred listened to his friend's words one by one, and he felt even more irritated. He thought they were right. The men around him were all like this. Which successful man didn't have mistresses and lovers outside? What's more, he only had Jade by his side. He also said that he could break up with Jade immediately, and they were about to get married soon. Soon he would belong to her, for the rest of his life in the future. He could only be with Christina. He just wanted to try something different before the wedding. It's not that he didn't love her anymore. He just made a mistake that all men in the world would make. Why wouldn't Christina give him a chance? She just dragged her suitcase and left without looking back. All the things related to her at home were taken away, and even the dog that they raised together was taken away. Only he was left behind. Oh, no. There were also their engagement ring and the design drawing of the wedding dress. Alfred took his friend's words to heart. Alfred thought that back then, Christina didn't go abroad with her mother because of him. It was obvious how much he meant to her. Over the years, because of his promise back then, he had tolerated Christina's little temper again and again, but it had led to the situation where Christina ran away from home. He must have spoiled her too much. That's why she felt so secure and threatened him with a breakup so casually. This time, he didn't want to lower himself to coax her. He was no longer the young and impulsive guy he used to be. He had already given Christina enough chances to reconcile at the airport during the day. It was her who didn't take the opportunity. He would teach her a lesson this time. Alfred cancelled Christina's card, and he also cancelled the plane ticket he booked in the afternoon. Jade came to pick him up at night. Jade was really open-minded, unlike Christina, who always acted like a designer even in bed. But a woman like Jade was only suitable to be kept as a mistress. Actually, Jade wasn't introduced by a friend. During that campus recruitment, he went there in person. When he saw Jade's bright and lively eyes, the junior who was driven away by Christina flashed through Alfred's mind. For some reason, he felt a pang of pity. Even though Jade's qualifications were far from being a CEO's secretary, he still made an exception and kept her by his side. When did their chaotic relationship start? Alfred himself wasn't sure, and he didn't care. After all, in his heart, having Christina was enough. Other women were just tools for his entertainment. Nothing more. That night, he severely punished Jade for her overstepping behavior in the afternoon. But after that, when he looked at the girl's red eyes from crying and her swollen lips from his rough treatment, he couldn't bear it anymore. He had someone send a set of jewelry worth millions of dollars. After leaving Jade's place, Alfred started thinking about Christina again. He stood downstairs of Jade's house and smoked a whole pack of cigarettes, repenting for his absurd behavior. Alfred silently made up his mind in his heart. This was the last time he would indulge himself. I didn't realize that my card was cancelled until a few days later. During these days in Switzerland, I had been troubling Edison, so I decided to treat Edison to a meal. When I swiped the card, the waiter told me that the card was frozen. I felt embarrassed for a moment. Just as I was feeling awkward, a hand with distinct knuckles suddenly reached out in front of me. Edison handed his card to the waiter and smiled gently. "Use mine." I quickly snatched the card from Edison's hand. I took out another black bank card from my card holder. "I still have enough money to treat you to a meal." After paying the bill and walking out of the restaurant, I broke the frozen bank card and threw it into the trash can. In the car, I took out my phone and sent an email to Alfred's private mailbox. I used my work account. Alfred didn't know that it was me behind this account. "Mr. Alfred, I won't participate in the design of the new project. In the future, I won't take part in any projects related to the Alfred family either." Soon, there was a reply to the email. "Why haven't we cooperated well these past few years? Is it a matter of price or something else? We can discuss it." Alfred's email went unanswered. I didn't reply to him. He would never know that the designer who had been quietly helping the design department of his company all these years was me. I cancelled the account and blocked all of Alfred's contact information. Canceling the bank card was probably Alfred's way of trying to force me to go back. A show of power. All these years, in his eyes, I had always been someone who stayed at home, completely relying on him for support. But in reality, I'm not an idle and pampered wife. Not only that, I've also achieved something on my own. These past few years, I had been participating in the jewelry design of the Alfred Families Group under the alias Moon. All the best-selling products they launched every year were designed by me, even when his father's illegitimate son betrayed the company by selling the design drafts. The rival company released the jewelry sample drawings overnight, catching the Alfred family off guard. When the company couldn't come up with a design plan by the specified time and the entire Alfred family fell into a credit crisis. It was also my design draft that turned the situation around. But Alfred didn't know that. He always thought that Moon insisted on cooperating with the Alfred family for so many years because of his young and promising talent. In the middle of it all, he also proposed a meeting and invited me to directly become the chief designer at the headquarters of the Alfred family. I politely declined each time. I had planned to confess on the day of our wedding. Now it seems there's no need for that anymore. Half a month passed. I finally almost finished perfecting my mother's manuscript. But there was a manuscript of a diamond ring named Blue Ocean. No matter how many times I revised it, I still wasn't satisfied. Just as I was about to take a photo and send it to Edison, a push notification popped up on my phone. Jade's social media account was updated. A set of exquisite jewelry caught the envy of countless netizens. Her caption was, "The boss said this is the price for making me cry." This set of jewelry was something I had taken a fancy to some time ago and originally planned to wear with the main wedding dress. Now, looking at it again, it wasn't as amazing as it used to be. Jade's post didn't seem to stir up any emotional waves in me anymore. I calmly finished reading it, blocked her, and logged out. Then I called Edison and asked him to come over and give me his opinion. It just so happened that a few days ago, he said he wanted to try Chinese hot pot. So we made an appointment at a supermarket near my home. Edison was dressed very casually today, without his usual noble aura. He instead exuded the warmth of a neighborly elder brother. I was choosing ingredients in front, and he was silently pushing the shopping cart behind. "Can you handle spicy food? Don't worry about me. Just choose according to your preference." This was a supermarket run by Chinese people, and it had my favorite hot pot base. Considering that Edison usually had a light appetite, I put down the spiciest one and put the mildly spicy hot pot base into the shopping cart. However, when it came to paying, the mildly spicy hot pot base had somehow been secretly replaced with the extra spicy one. In the warm room, Edison and I sat on the carpet and cooked hot pot. He really couldn't handle spicy food. Just one bite made him choke and tears streamed down his face. His blue eyes were like a deep sea filled with clear water, like the heart of the ocean. They had an alluring magic. In an instant, the best modification plan for Blue Ocean flashed in my mind. I was so excited that I was about to get up and go to the desk to revise the draft before I even swallowed the tripe in my mouth. In my excitement, I accidentally tripped over the raised carpet behind me. I lost my balance and covered my head to minimize the impact as much as possible. However, the expected pain didn't come. I fell into a warm and broad embrace. Opening my eyes, I seemed to fall into a vast blue ocean. My heart skipped a beat. The snow outside the window seemed to have been paused, and everything around became quiet. Only the steaming hot pot and Evan, who was running around in a hurry because he couldn't get any meat, were moving. I shouldn't have agreed to Edison's request to drink alcohol just now. This situation, like in an idle drama, added a strange atmosphere to the air. However, the next second, the beautiful atmosphere was broken by the man who suddenly appeared outside the French window. Alfred stood in the snow outside the French window, glaring at me and Edison, who were still embracing each other, with bloodshot eyes. Soon, the doorbell rang. Alfred pounded on the villa door like a madman, shouting angrily outside, "Christina, open the door." I felt a bit embarrassed and got up from Edison's embrace. When we looked at each other, we both lowered our heads involuntarily, our faces turning pink. "I'll go and open the door. I'll go and open the door." We said it at the same time. In the end, Edison was the first to step towards the door. As soon as the door opened, Alfred threw a punch at Edison, but he missed. Although Edison was a jewelry designer and usually looked gentle and polite, but when I fell on him just now, I could feel how strong his body was. There wasn't a single part of him that was easy to bully. After dodging Alfred's punch, Edison counterattacked almost immediately. Alfred didn't even have time to react before he was knocked into the snow by Edison's punch. He flew out completely. Edison didn't plan to let Alfred go. He rushed out, one hand choking Alfred's neck and the other hand mercilessly throwing punches. He was also cursing, using his limited vocabulary. "You piece of shit scumbag. Damn shit. I'll kill you. Kill you. When he was too emotional, he would also blurt out a few words in English and Italian from time to time, chattering away. Fuck you, Danilo. Libertino. I rushed over and stopped Edison. If this continued, something bad would happen. The moment I stood in front of Edison, Alfred seemed to be stabbed severely by something, his face full of pain. Christina. And said you cancelled the wedding photography appointment. He walked towards me, his eyes full of confusion. Is it really necessary for you to give up our relationship just because I made this one mistake after all these years? What about you? You left me and immediately threw yourself into another man's arms. How much better are you? You've been in touch with him all these years. Can you really say you two are innocent? Alfred pointed at Edison, trying to shift the blame onto me. He found a seemingly reasonable excuse for his affair. The more he spoke, the more confident he became. Christina, come back with me. I can overlook how you've been fooling around with Edison these past few days. Let's start over. Under the moonlight, I looked at Alfred. It was still the same face, but there was no trace of the person he used to be. The Alfred in the past. When he was wrong, he admitted it. He never made excuses but would silently change and strive to become the best boyfriend in my heart. But now he was full of lies. And even his infidelity could be turned into my problem in his mouth. My tone was much calmer than it was at the airport that day. Mr. Alfred, don't think of everyone as despicable as you are. I won't go back with you. It's over between us. After saying that, I took Edison's arm and turned to go back inside. Alfred stood there, and the night swallowed the starlight in his eyes. Christina, I'll just stand here and wait for you. I won't go anywhere until you forgive me. Edison glanced at me carefully, hesitating to speak. I smiled. Let him stand there. It's not us who will be cold anyway. Edison touched the tip of his nose. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Don't you think he's a bit of an eyesore? Oh, I see. He really was an eyesore. I silently walked to the French window. The person outside the window brightened up. His lips were trembling from the cold. When he saw me approaching, he forced a smile on his stiff face. However, all he got in return was me coldly pulling the curtains shut. Alfred couldn't hold on after standing in the snow for 2 hours. This was completely different from what he had expected. In the past, as long as he coughed a few times at home, Christina would be extremely worried. But now, she could leave him out in the cold snowy night, ignoring him completely, letting his body gradually grow cold. When Christina stood in front of Edison, Alfred panicked completely. His panic wasn't because Christina was protecting another man, but because of Christina's cold eyes. He had seen the way Christina used to look at him with love in her eyes. So when Christina looked at him with coldness, even disgust, in her eyes, he realized that he might really lose her. But his friends all said that a woman like Christina, who was helpless and alone, was a typical pampered wife. After being left alone for a few days, she would return to her old self, and she might even become more dependent on him after they made up. But it seemed that wasn't the case. Half a month passed, and Christina didn't call him once. She didn't contact him at all. Even though he cancelled her bank card, she didn't yield. When he called her, he found that he had been blocked. Every time he wanted to go to Switzerland to find Christina, his friends would step in and say, Alfred, you're not going to give in to sister-in-law again, are you? Christina's parents are both dead. She's just a helpless orphan now. Without you, how can she survive? She's just playing hard to get. If you go and let her have her way, she'll just get worse in the future. You don't want to keep flying to Switzerland to coax her every now and then, do you? Then he would give up the idea of going to find Christina and continue to have a good time with his friends. Until the new secretary found out that the last login address of the Moon account was also in Switzerland. God knew how happy he was at that moment. He finally had an excuse to go to Switzerland. An excuse that wouldn't make his friends laugh at him for being henpecked. He knew that in his heart. He actually wanted to go and bring Christina back. After all, without Christina, that empty villa couldn't be called a home anymore. He loved Christina very much. When the plane passed through the clouds, he silently swore in his heart, after bringing Christina back this time, he would definitely break off all relations with those women. But then he saw the scene of Christina and Edison embracing each other. As a man, he knew better than anyone what Edison's feelings for Christina were. In that instant, he felt as if he had been poured a bucket of icy water from head to toe, and the coldness pierced his heart. In that instant, he understood how Christina had felt at that time. It really hurt. He had originally planned to beg humbly, as long as Christina was willing to give him another chance. He was even prepared to kneel down. But when he saw Christina protecting Edison and looking at him with cold eyes, he really couldn't bear it anymore. He said those harsh words. When the secretary called, he was completely frozen. He didn't know how he left. All he knew was that every part of his body ached. These countless aches merged into a cold river, flowing towards his heart. That night, Alfred's mind was filled with the sweet moments between Christina and Edison. He couldn't fall asleep the whole night. Edison took the design draft that I had perfected to participate in a competition. It was a world-class jewelry design competition. A week later, the news that I won the award spread throughout the jewelry industry. In an instant, the name, Moon, became famous. Edison somehow became the agent of Moon. But I knew that Edison had his own company both in Switzerland and in China. The scale was in no way inferior to that of the Alfred family. But he was different from Alfred. He could always find time to have meals with me, accompany me to draw drafts, and take me to see a doctor. He even specially held a jewelry exhibition to introduce me to more big names in the jewelry industry. The works displayed at the exhibition were all the ones that I had completed together with my mother. Displaying my works together with my mother's in the showcase was my dream and also what my mother had hoped for. Now, both my mother's and my wishes had come true. At the banquet filled with the clinking of glasses, I was wearing a gorgeous dress. This was the first time I appeared in the public eye as a designer. It was also the first time that people in the industry saw the real Moon. Many elites in suits came to talk to me. Their intention to cooperate with me was very obvious. Countless offers came at me, making me dizzy. I suddenly realized that I could be so dazzling. The days when I was the fiancé of the president of the Alfred family were extremely boring. Holding a glass of wine and chatting with a French gentleman, a familiar voice suddenly came from behind me. Miss Mia, I am Alfred. Nice to meet you. I appreciate your talent very much. And if given the opportunity, I hope we can collaborate. I had heard from my friends in China that the Alfred family's group had recently encountered a big problem. The designer they hired externally suddenly cancelled the cooperation. For a moment, they couldn't find a capable designer within the company. In fact, it wasn't that they couldn't find one. For such a large group, it was impossible not to have a capable designer. It was just that when I was working as an external designer for the Alfred family, everyone was very relaxed. Most of the design drafts were reviewed by me. Over time, the people in the design department got used to slacking off. Anyway, I, the external designer, would always be there to take care of things. It takes 10 years to sharpen a sword. If it's not sharpened for a long time, even the sharpest sword will rust. So Alfred also came to today's banquet. He was trying to find a designer at this banquet who could replace Moon. Just as Mia was about to speak, someone suddenly shouted, "Miss Moon," through the glass window directly in front of me. I saw Alfred's hand holding the wine glass pause slightly. Then he put down the wine glass and nervously adjusted the collar of his suit. Picking up the wine glass again, he turned around and said humbly to my back, "Miss Moon." As I slowly turned around, Alfred's words caught in his throat. "Christina, how could it be you?" I wore a proper smile. Alfred's face went blank for a moment. "Mr. Alfred, is there something?" Alfred's consciousness was pulled back by my voice. He looked me up and down. "All these years, the Moon who has been helping the Alfred family from behind has always been you." I didn't deny it and nodded with a smile. "Mr. Alfred, that's not quite right. I'm not helping you. I've received my payment. We were just in a cooperative relationship." Alfred was stunned by my words. Indeed, I had received a lot of payment from the Alfred family over the years. Although I used to love Alfred, I always remembered my mother's advice. She said that a man's love was the most unreliable thing in the world. Their vows of eternal love were like fireworks, brilliant and colorful the moment they were spoken, but they would eventually fade away in an instant. So I didn't refuse to accept the payment just because the cooperation partner was Alfred. For the commercial price, I took exactly what was due, neither more nor less. I used that money for investment, and the returns were good. So even if I left Alfred, I could still live comfortably. To be honest, seeing Alfred's regretful expression, I felt a bit pleased. Just as Alfred was about to speak, he was interrupted by the man who suddenly put his arm around my waist. Edison was dressed in a suit, exuding an air of nobility. He was half a head taller than Alfred and looked down slightly when looking at people. Although there was a smile in his eyes, there was also hostility. "Mr. Alfred, What do you want with my Christina? Alfred's expression was as ugly as if he had eaten a fly, and he couldn't do anything about it. After all, there were Edison's people all around. He moved his lips, and just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted again. Edison smiled casually. Mr. Alfred, if you want to talk about cooperation, I'm really sorry. My Christina is now a sought-after designer in the industry, and her work appointments are already scheduled until next year. However, if Mr. Alfred is really in a hurry, we can also, considering that we have an old connection, an old acquaintance. I reminded awkwardly. Edison touched the tip of his nose and continued to act. We can also, out of consideration for our old acquaintance relationship, let Mr. Alfred cut in line. Alfred's expression became more and more twisted, but Edison's smile became brighter and brighter. Mr. Alfred, if you have anything, call me. I'm now Christina's personal secretary. He somehow took out a postcard and imitated the way a vicious male supporting character in a TV drama humiliates the male lead when they have the backing of someone powerful. He inserted the postcard into Alfred's chest pocket and patted it unceremoniously. Alfred couldn't bear it anymore. He looked very unhappy. He raised his hand, and before his fist could fall, he was stopped by the bodyguards who rushed over. Several burly men in suits expressionlessly threw him out. I heard that Alfred stood outside the hotel for a long time. After Alfred was dragged out, I looked up at the proud man beside me. Why did you send him an invitation? The man immediately lowered his head, like a puppy that had done something wrong. I just wanted to help you get back at him. You should have been this glorious all along. It's glorious and dazzling, I corrected, supporting my forehead and couldn't help but laugh. Seeing me laugh, Edison looked up again. He bent over and made a gentlemanly gesture. Miss Moon, may I have this dance? I gently placed my hand in Edison's palm. It was very warm, and it gave me a great sense of security. When I went back with Edison, I saw Alfred. He was still standing there, but there was a woman beside him. Jade was still wearing a very revealing dress. The hickeys on her chest had turned into ugly spots. I knew she wasn't brought by Alfred. She came to find Alfred. During the time I had been in Switzerland, I didn't know nothing about what was going on back home. There were always friends who liked to share the news about Alfred and Jade with me. After I left, Jade thought she had successfully taken my place, even though Alfred's attitude towards her had done a complete 180-degree turn. She still had the nerve to claim to be Alfred's girlfriend. There were indeed a few times when she brought the drunk Alfred back home, and she was in high spirits the next day. But Alfred was reluctant to give this relationship a definite outcome. Now that Alfred had come to Switzerland, people in the industry were saying that Alfred had come to beg me to get back together with him. Naturally, Jade panicked and bought a plane ticket to come to Switzerland to find Alfred. But she didn't know the occasion. Outside this banquet venue full of big shots, she was pulling and tugging at Alfred, and even tried to take off her coat and throw herself at him. She cried to Alfred, "Brother Alfred, look at me, please. I'm Tian. Didn't you say that only I can help you vent your anger? I'm here. Let's go to the hotel. You can vent your anger however you want. Let's forget about that bitch." Okay. Before Jade could finish her words, she was interrupted by a group of reporters surrounding her, facing the spotlights of foreign media. Alfred panicked. The Alfred family was trying to expand into overseas markets recently. Once the president of a jewelry company is involved in a scandal, who would still want to buy the diamond rings that symbolize love from their company? Alfred pushed Jade away and rushed out of the crowd on his own. He got into the car. Jade didn't understand the language, and she was surrounded by people in this unfamiliar country. She was very scared. In a panic, she saw me sitting in the car not far away, watching everything. She shouted my name, but few people here could understand. I rolled up the window and told the driver to drive. Alfred went back. He hadn't yet recovered from the pain of losing me completely. He was then disturbed by a flood of scandals. That night, Jade's passionate speech outside the hotel was spread on the internet by foreign media. In this era of the internet, national boundaries couldn't be a barrier to the spread of information. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. Soon, Jade's social media account was also dug up by the competitors of the Alfred family's group. Although Alfred's face wasn't shown in the pictures, the resourceful netizens still determined based on the details that the male protagonist in the photos was Alfred. Soon, the news that the president of the Alfred family's group had a mistress spread like wildfire and became known to everyone. The affectionate image that Alfred had built in the past no longer existed. Over the years, the product concept promoted by the Alfred Families Group was the loyalty and constancy of love, but the president himself had taken the lead in violating it. All the customers began to lose interest. The overwhelming online abuse buried Alfred. Damn it. I just bought their ring to propose. Now, my girlfriend directly threw the ring in my face and called me a scumbag. Who would dare to buy jewelry from their family in the future? It's so disappointing. That mistress is also quite outrageous. She's embarrassed herself all the way abroad. The business partners also lost interest. Since Alfred's scandal broke first, the business partners could not only terminate the contract without liability but also demand compensation from Alfred. The Alfred family had been going smoothly for years. The moment the scandal broke out, the public relations department was at a loss. The legal department was in a mess. They wanted to seek confirmation from Alfred but couldn't find him. The physical stores were smashed by many customers. The finance department, in order to avoid trouble, could only pay money to resolve the issue. In fact, Alfred still had a chance to save the situation. But his father brought his illegitimate son back at this crucial moment. His father, in order to get some money, accepted money from the competitors of the Alfred family and smeared his own son. The scene of them fighting each other made the public opinion reach its peak. The stock price of the Alfred family's company also began to plummet due to the public opinion. Finally, on the third day after the public opinion fermented, Alfred was found. He had been drinking himself into a stupor for these 3 days. He locked himself at home, staring blankly at the engagement ring I had left behind and drinking. When his friends found him, he was in a complete state of depression. He had a beard and looked nothing like his former high-spirited self. On the way to the hospital, he kept calling my name. When I saw these news, I was about to go skiing with Edison. The man squatted in front of me and carefully checked my ski suit. I looked down at Edison. My heart fluttered again. On the day the Alfred family declared bankruptcy, I accepted Edison's proposal. Under the snowy Alps, we hugged and kissed. When we went to visit my mother's grave, Edison smiled like a child. He held Evan's hand in one hand and mine in the other. On that tree-lined path, there was no longer the heavy silence. When we got home, I saw Alfred again. He seemed to like standing. When he saw Edison and I holding hands tightly, Alfred's eyes suddenly turned red. He choked up and said, "Christina, can't we really go back?" I stood a meter away and looked at that thin face through the falling snowflakes. This face gradually overlapped with the young man in my memory. At the age of 16, Alfred stopped me at the airport when I was about to go abroad. He said that his father was going to marry the nanny, and they had an illegitimate son about his age. The Alfred family was no longer his home, and he had nothing left but me. At the age of 18, Alfred stole a kiss from me under the fireworks when I wasn't paying attention. He said he liked me and thanked me for staying for him. "Christina, I want to go back to the Alfred family, take back everything that belongs to me, and give you a future where you don't have to worry about food and clothing. You will always be with me, won't you?" At the age of 23, Alfred snatched the Alfred Families Group from his father, drove away his stepmother and younger brother, and brought me into the old mansion of the Alfred family. Because of his father, he hated nannies, so I took care of all the affairs at home these years. Gradually, in Alfred's eyes, I became an ordinary housewife. I always kept my promise and stayed with him. From a young man who faced many setbacks to a now powerful business tycoon. But he had lost his original intention. And he had also lost the young man who had loved me wholeheartedly under the fireworks that night. But all of this was in the past. Now I could calmly smile and say to him, "Yes, we can't go back. You should also live a good life." I knew that Alfred didn't have much time left. My friends told me that he was sick, in the late stage of gastric cancer. The once respected Mr. Alfred now couldn't even afford to treat his illness. He could only wait for death. He said he was dying. He spent all his savings just to fly to Switzerland to see me. He wanted me to accompany him through his last days. What bad luck. Live a good life, was the last thing I said to Alfred. The next time I heard news about Alfred, it was that he had killed Jade. That day, when I told Alfred to live a good life, he took it to heart. He went to Jade to ask for that set of jewelry worth millions. He wanted to sell the jewelry and use the money to treat his illness. But a person like Jade would never return the jewelry to him. By then, Jade already had a new benefactor. He was one of Alfred's former friends in the circle, and they had drunk together many times. That man was with Jade because Alfred often told them how open-minded Jade was. Jade told her benefactor about Alfred coming to find her. The man added insult to injury and spread Alfred's current situation widely in the circle as a joke. The news eventually reached Alfred's ears when he was working in a bar to make money. Alfred smashed someone's head on the spot. Jade was in the private room at that time, and she was wearing that set of jewelry around her neck. This time, there was a series of notification sounds. He rushed over and choked Jade's neck until she completely stopped breathing. He snatched the jewelry and fled. Before he could sell the jewelry, he was arrested. He died in prison before he could even wait for the day of his execution. In the end, no one claimed his body. My friend sighed in front of Edison and me. A good president. How did he end up like this? Edison smiled. There is an old Chinese saying, a man who loves his wife will have smooth sailing and achieve success in his career. Christina is so good. But Alfred let her down. This is his retribution. After saying that, he turned to look at me, his face full of flattery. Sister, did I say it right this time? I looked into Edison's smiling eyes and nodded gently. It was winter again. The snow outside the window was still falling, and I was still the same. The sea presses down on the bamboo branches, which bend low and then rise again. The wind blows at the foot of the mountain, where it is dark and then becomes bright again.